Welcome, I'm Rogers Anderson, Mayor here in Williamson County. As we travel around Williamson County, we try to find interesting guests and different people that may or may not have been on our show. And today we have Captain Mike Dobbins, who's with the Williamson County Sheriff's Department, been with them a dozen years?
12 years.
Done a great job. Thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come here.
Mike works in an area that I hope that most people never ever have to use your services over at the Sheriff's Department, and you're in charge of all the jail operations.
I hear it's nice to meet you. I hope I don't meet you again.
Got about 450 beds, but before we actually get into the day-to-day operations of the jail and what all the responsibilities that the sheriff has bestowed upon you to continue to have the first-run sheriff's department here in our county, let's talk a little bit about Mike and where you come from. And a lot of parents are watching this, grandparents watching this. Is there an opportunity for their daughter or their son to be in law enforcement, and the opportunities that might arise? We're always looking for good men and women. But
always looking for good men.
Talk to us
and
a little
women.
bit. And women, yes.
And women.
Tell us a little bit about you and where you came from and how'd you get involved in law enforcement?
Well, I was born and raised in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, went to Drake University and started working for Hartford Insurance Group. Now, this is going to sound completely different than what everyone expects for law enforcement, but I was with Hartford for about 5 years and then joined Chubb & Son Insurance Company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in May of '86, and went from Pittsburgh, Detroit, back to Pittsburgh, Tulsa, Atlanta, Nashville in a little over 20 years with the Chubb & Son Insurance Company. And I was a commercial underwriter, did oil and gas business, above and below ground coal mines, and independent power production, all the weird stuff. And in Atlanta, I was actually platinum on Delta. I flew every day up and down the East Coast, and when I got here, I wanted to travel less, which they knew, but lo and behold, they put me in a car, and I did a lot of traveling, and I knew Sheriff Headley, and I knew Dusty Rhodes at the time, and they both said, come run our jail. And they were looking for someone to run it as a business, because it's a $6 million budget, and a lot of things that, quite honestly, have nothing to do with a jail. It could be a hotel, it could be a hospital, it could be most anything. So in March of 2003, I joined the sheriff's office as the captain over the jail, and been running the jail ever since.
Well, and I've had the opportunity to know your entire working career. You've done an outstanding job. Let's talk a little bit about the jail, the number of employees that you have direct supervision over. You already mentioned it's a $6 million budget. Number of beds, how old is our jail, and how do we handle some of our prisoners? And we've got from the misdemeanor, I call it,
Yes.
Offense, the DUI. Certainly, we just about every weekend we've got DUI offenders, people that are there, all the way to the hardened criminals.
We've got 454 beds, and we're averaging about 385 inmate count. Now, what we use is an 85% rule, and so we're full from an 85% rule. If you look at the female count right now, we're at 92. As of midnight last night, we have 92 females, and I've only got 75 beds for females. So we've emptied out one of the areas that we use for protective custody for males and had to put females in there to handle the female population. We have to keep total separation of sight and sound. Tennessee Corrections Institute, our governing body, the state agency that comes in and does our inspections, they govern how we have to operate with some minimum standards. And one of the minimum standards is total separation of sight and sound of male and female inmates. They also say we have to serve 2 hot meals not more than 14 hours apart, which we do. We actually give them 3 meals. We give them a sack lunch, but we give them a breakfast at 5 in the morning and another hot meal about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The cost we have driven down, as some of the commissioners know, we've got it down to $1.14 a meal. We do serve 2,000 calories. I do hear often that, I'm losing weight. Well, I'm sorry, I would lose weight on 2,000 calories, but it is it's signed off by the nutritionist over at the hospital, and they get enough to eat. We hear about that on occasion, but as far as our work staff, we've got 101 deputies that report to me, and that sounds like a lot, but when you look at one position, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it takes 5.3 people to handle that, with vacations and everything. So we're really only looking at 30 full-time positions when you break it down that way. And what we talked about earlier, I'm always looking for good people. Always, always, always looking for good people.
And what are the qualifications to become a jailer? We'll use that term, and I know those men and women are certified, but I know that they have to go through some training.
Yes, we actually do 6 weeks of training, and then 4 weeks of field training, or FTO, where they shadow someone. So they're 10 weeks on the working for us before they're by themselves on the floor. So minimum standards require us to do 1 week, which we don't find to be adequate. We want to make sure that everybody goes home safe, and that's the big thing about, we may only have 13 employees or deputies there at any given time. On a Sunday evening, there may only be 13, and you've got 380 some inmates. So it's about 30 to 1 ratio.
When we talk about our prisoners and the jail that was built, and if my memory serves me correct, I'm showing my age because I was around then. It was in the late 80s?
89 it opened, and then it was added on to in 1998.
So of this 450 plus bed facility that we've got, with a combination of mixture of males and females, detached, separated from each other, not detached, explain to me how the state prisoner, the federal prisoner, state prisoner, and the local prisoner, and what the taxpayers really pay for it. Now, the taxpayers have paid for that jail facility. In fact, if my math is right, on the 88, 89, we've paid off that debt. Now, the late 90 edition, we may have a couple of more years. We usually put our bonds on 20-year bonds,
okay.
so that would be paid off. We find many other uses for that money. Don't get me wrong here. Don't go back and tell the sheriff that if you don't mind. But how does the breakdown go from the feds, the state, and the locals? We
are contracted with the feds through the U.S. Marshal Service to hold immigration custom enforcement, which we hold maybe one on an average per year. In the past, we used to handle about 20 of the immigration custom enforcement folks or inmates, and when they went under Homeland Security, they restructured, and we have about one at a time, any given time that we average. If you commit a crime in Williamson County, you're going to come to our jail. If you can post bond, fine. If it's a misdemeanor charge in your post bond, you're out. If you're not, we got about 45 inmates that are waiting for trial on a misdemeanor charge. On a felony charge, more serious charge, we're about 100 to 120 at any given time that are waiting for trial. From a convicted standpoint, we hold about 120 county inmates. That's doing misdemeanor time. And I want to take a minute to explain.
Please.
When you see the black and white stripes out in the county that are working for county highway, out at the landfill, they may be at animal control, those are sentenced misdemeanors only. That means they've got an 1129 or a 1 year or less charge. 1129 stands for 11 months, 29 days. So they've got less than 1 year of a charge. They can get out if they work every day. They get 2 days credit for every 1 day worked.
We call that 2 for 1.
2 for 1. So they can get out in roughly 6 to 7 months. If they walk off that job, they get hit with a 6 to 8 year escape charge. I've been here 12 years, and knock on wood, I have not had one walk off yet. It just doesn't make any sense. But I want the public to understand that those are sentenced misdemeanors only. A misdemeanor can be not paying child support, maybe simple possession, but they're not the aggravated assaults and the felony charges. They're not out there. From a felony, convicted felons that go to the state, we handle right now about 60 to 70 at a time state inmates that are waiting for beds at the penitentiaries. And here where it gets a little tricky, the state pays us $38 a day to house those inmates, those convicted felons. My cost to hold an inmate is about $64 a day. So as you can tell, we're not making any money. Actually, we're losing money on that proposition, and the state is not looking at adding any more beds. So could we get that number down? Quite possibly, but the state is dealing with things like in Coffee County, where you've got 178 inmates in a 125 bed facility. They obviously need the state inmates gone before we do. So we're not high on the list for that, but I can tell you this, from a state standpoint, if it's going to cost us any money where we have to send them to the hospital, et cetera, the state will come in and take them. If we do have to, if we can't get a bed, a special needs bed, and they go to the hospital, we can get reimbursed for those costs by the state, the medical costs.
You bring up a good topic, and over my 25 plus years either being involved here in the political arena in Williamson County, I've heard the discussion about the medical cost. You have one of the reasons that Sheriff Headley and now Sheriff excuse me, Long and Dusty brought you on to run this like a business. You brought in some expertise on the medical side, contracting with different companies, trying to minimize our loss and reimbursement, and how we treat our prisoners, which in the long run is saving us tax dollars. But the same issues the general public has with health insurance, reimbursement costs, whether you're Medicare, Medicaid, or private pay, or you don't have any. You got the same issues over there.
Yes, we do. Bottom line, if we like the inmate, don't like the inmate, like their charges, don't like their charges, it really doesn't matter. We're going to treat everyone the same. They're in our care, custody, and control, and we have to take care of that inmate. With that being a given for us, if they get sick, they're going to have to go. We've got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week medical staff. We're up about 400% on the number of times that mobile crisis has come out in the last 4 years, which tells us we've got an issue with mental illness here, not only in this county but nationwide. So we've got to deal with that, and we've set up some things. We actually added a 40-hour-a-week psych nurse to the staff. But if an inmate gets sick and has to go to the hospital, we have to take them over to Williamson Medical Center. And Williamson Medical Center doesn't handle everything. We've had a high-risk pregnancy, we've had neurological problems, and they end up going down to Vanderbilt. We've got a contract with Williamson Medical Center, which is great, but when they go to Vanderbilt, or we had a female inmate that went and had kidney dialysis and ran up about $80,000 in bill before we got her moved to the state. Actually, she was county, excuse me. But we set up with Corvell, which handles our workers' compensation. We set it up with them so that we actually have, similar to what a PPO would be for all the inmates. So when they go to a facility that we don't have a contract with, we get preferred pricing. And that $80,000 bill got cut down to $38,000. Anything we go to Vanderbilt with, we're getting PPO pricing for, which is considerably less.
And when you think about it, you use the term care, custody, control, which, by the way, is a no insurance term. Anybody watching this,
yes, it is.
You would know that. I would know that, being 26 years in the field. That inmate is our responsibility. Now, a lot of the people say, well, you shouldn't turn it into a hotel status of the jail. It's not. They get the bare minimum treatment. They get a treatment that you or I would get. They do not get all the extras. I oftentimes have heard people say, "Oh, I know so and so that went over there and he had dentures put in and had all this," just on the dental side. The only dental attention they're going to get is the review, and if it's a bad tooth, or it might get extracted.
First thing we do is we get them on antibiotics to get rid of the infection. And then we take them over to the dentist and have them evaluated. If the tooth needs to be pulled, we will pull the tooth. But quite honestly, with methamphetamine use, it turns their teeth to paper, and it really is a problem from a dental standpoint with all the meth addicts that come through. We're at any given time probably detoxing between 6 and 10 inmates at a time off of either alcohol or drug, and that's not a pretty process to watch. But that's what my deputies have to do, make sure that inmate is taken care of. And if they dehydrate, we have to get them over to the hospital and get them hydrated and then bring them back. At any given time, we staff for a normal day. We don't staff to have. 2 months ago, I had 4 inmates at the hospital at one time, 1 down at Vanderbilt and 3 out at Williamson Medical Center. That's very rare. 2 weeks later, I had three different people, all with different symptoms. But we've got a sicker inmate than we've ever dealt with before. But they come back, and like I said, we've got 24/7 medical coverage in the facility that's contracted with LPNs and RNs.
Interesting, and you made a statement earlier about that if you're arrested, you're going to come to the county jail. Cities do not have a jail.
No, they do not. Anyone arrested in Williamson County, so that means Brentwood PD, Franklin PD, Nolensville PD, Fairview PD, Spring Hill on the north side of Spring Hill comes to our jail. By Constitution, the sheriff has the only jail in the county. That includes people arrested by Natchez Trace Police, park rangers, TBI, Tennessee Highway Patrol. Everyone comes to our facility. We booked in about 8,000, just a little over 8,000 individuals in 2014.
I think an interesting concept too that the people, the general public watching this show would like to know. Our community is growing. We are seeing anywhere between 40 and 45% growth across all county lines here, as compared over from a 10-year window. I hear oftentimes from the judicial side, the judges, that there are just more and more and more people going through the court systems, and Mayor, we need more room, we need more space. Is our jail population, and when we built that jail way back when, built it for so many, and then we've added on. I mean, I know the administrative offices are very small and packed and cramped, and I hear that quite often from the sheriff. But is our jail population becoming more sicker? I could only imagine we're seeing more of because of the general population.
Yes, and
yes to both of them.
To all of it. Offices aside, we have, if the courts have more people coming through them, and I've seen a 10% just in the last year, up to 8,000 people being booked in this last year versus about 7,200 the year before. It's going to continue to grow. We are on the verge of needing additional space right now. I can't imagine in 5 years where we're going to be. With the growth of the county projections that you see, it's going to be a real issue 5 years from now, where we're going to have people sleeping on boats and
now you have to explain boats.
Boats are a piece of a plastic container that goes on the ground, and then their mattress goes inside that boat. So technically, they're considered off the floor. So, but it's they still get a mattress, they still get a blanket, and they get all the hygiene products.
It's not a boat. It's a turret.
It's not a bunk. Normally, we put them on a bunk bed and a double bunk bed, or if we have to go to the floor where we're out of the bunks, that's considered off the floor.
In your 12 years, are we seeing an increase in the female population also?
Yeah, we've got 75 beds for females, and right now, this morning I had 92 females. So we had to empty out a whole section where we normally would have protective custody for males and move them to other areas. So we do a lot of juggling of inmates that way so that we can continue to have total separation of sight and sound.
Captain, if you were, and we're blessed here in Williamson. Let's start.
Yes, we are.
We don't have the crime scenarios that a county and a city north of this county would have on a daily basis. Of course, their population is 2 and 3 times the size of ours, and I think overall in Williamson County, it's a very safe place to live and raise your family. We still have crime though, and in your area of responsibility, which is the jail, and you've already said you've got more numbers and you got the severity of the crime based on some products such as meth. Mm-hmm. Meth is bad. There's no good that comes out of meth.
None whatsoever.
And you can use the meth product one time and be hooked. It's awful.
It's terrible.
It's even, when I sit here and I look at what the commission's approved and what we've changed, and we did some of that to help the court system, but we now have a juvenile court judge that a few years ago we didn't have. We shared. Are we seeing more crimes also in the juvenile area? And you've not touched upon that. What do we do with our juveniles?
From a sheriff's office standpoint, we do not do anything with the juveniles. Judge Guffey is in charge of that. We're one of, I believe, 3 facilities in the state that have juvenile detention under the same roof, and it was grandfathered in back in '98. Normally, juveniles are not even housed under the same roof. Their facility and our facility are under the same roof, but completely separate.
Correct.
Separately run. Judge Guffey does a wonderful job with juvenile court. I really don't get involved in anything other than if we were to have someone who turns 18 while they're still on juvenile charges, they can't be held in the juvenile detention center. They'll come over to us.
And I wanted to get that out because a lot of people don't understand the jails we have are not.
They're adult jails.
They're adult jails.
Adult only.
Now, the moment you turned 18,
you're an adult.
You're an adult.
By Tennessee law.
That's right, and we try to treat you as an adult. Looking at the scenarios of jails across the state of Tennessee, and I know you're very involved, along with Sheriff Long, involved in the law enforcement community and in the advocacy that goes on. What are some issues that you see coming down the pike for our jails? Now, I understand a lot of counties in the state of Tennessee are undersized for their population of their community. So it's nothing but cost. It's dollars and cents.
It really breaks down to dollars and cents. One of the things that we're doing, Sheriff Long brought this in 2008. We started running programs for inmates, and it's really focused on that 120 sentenced misdemeanors. Thinking of misdemeanor charge being not paying child support is one of the big ones. What can we do to get them a better job? And what we looked at was we now have GED, we have life skills, anger management. Against the Grain Ministries does a 180-degree program, and these programs are run all during the week and by volunteers. And to date, we have graduated over 150 inmates with their GED while they've been incarcerated. We're pushing 175 now. I haven't seen the last count in the last few months, but we're trying to get them educated so that they can get better jobs and cut down on the recidivism rate in the county.
And talking about a recidivism rate, explain, I mean, that's a huge number. It can be a huge number.
That can be a very big number. And we're also looking at doing college courses with Williamson College. Anything we can do to get the inmates some tools on their tool belt to become better citizens and hopefully get better jobs and higher paying jobs. And we won't have the issues that we have.
Well, and we all know that oftentimes when an individual is brought in there, if they don't have those work skill habits, and if they don't have the ability of having good education to be able to read and to write and to understand, they are going to be back in your position again.
Well, and you have to simplify it. I looked at it, and gosh, you think about life skills, and I mean, how to open a checking account. I mean, how to write a check. They don't know these things, and it boils down to very simple skills that I think probably 85% of the people living in Williamson County would say everybody knows how to do that. They don't, and that's where what our focus is. And from a GED standpoint, we're a satellite of Columbia State Community College, and I think it's a wonderful program to try to get them, the inmates, additional education.
We've got a couple of minutes left. I'm sure I've overlooked something that you want to touch on. I know you've got a great crew of men and women out there that work every day, faithfully every day. There's always opportunity. What have I overlooked you want to say?
Well, we're always looking for good people.
How do they get a hold of it? What's the phone number they call?
790-5560 is the front desk, and you can go online. Our application is online. You have to pass a functional fitness test, and then go from there with the application. The application's lengthy, but I think
there's a reason for that, too.
Yeah, it's a great career. I tell people I didn't come up through the ranks, but my hat's off to law enforcement, because when everything's hitting the fan, you want them there, and we're all running the other way, and they're going in with no emotion and doing their job, and the training comes out, and you just can't say enough positive. My folks can see something like if someone tries to hang themselves, they got to cut them down. We've got Corky French, our chaplain, who comes in and deals with the employee, because they may have cut somebody down. And one young lady that we have still working for us, doing a great job, she told me, she goes, I can't get that guy's face out of my head. And she didn't sleep for 3 days. So getting someone in here, it's not a glamorous job, but then again, it's law enforcement, but we can deal with that. We can get them talking about things, and that's what we try to do. And everyone who starts with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office starts in the jail, and then we move from there. And if they want to go to patrol, or they want to become an SRO, or they want to get
SRO, school
resource officer, or they want to go to court services, they have those opportunities, and we post certify them while they're in the jail, so that they're prepared. And I told the other captains, what better opportunity. I can tell you that this individual's come to work for 2 years in the jail and done a good job. They have a background that's.
I want to say thank you to you, first of all, for the job you do. I know you've done an outstanding job for the last dozen years, and I hope you have many more successful years. Captain Dobbins, we thank you for your crew, your operation, but we got to go.
Sounds good.
Appreciate
your time.
Thank you. And I'm Rogers Anderson. We'll see you around the county at another time, at another place. Have a good day.